Good afternoon all, and welcome to the Stena Drilling Guyana Supplier Forum. Stena Drilling are delighted to be part of this supplier forum again. We are very excited to take part. Now we will soon have 2 drilling units in Guyana, and we are looking forward to working with all Guyanese suppliers and looking forward to have some more local Guyanese employees on the Stena drill marks within our company. We'll go into the first slide and we'll give you an introduction into Stena Drilling for those who are not aware of us. So my name is Jeff Polson. I'm the rig manager for the Stena drill marks. Stena Drilling is a wholly owned subsidiary of Stena AB out of Gothenburg in Sweden. Stena Drilling Ltd formed in 1996. We came about this starting off in 1989. Stena acquired Holder Marine Drilling, and then in 1996 we acquired Ben Line Steamers and Atlantic Drilling. Then from 1996 onwards we became one company, Stena Drilling Ltd. We own and operate 2 semi-submersible units, 4 DP state-of-the-art drill ships. We have worked many areas including Southeast Asia, Australasia, North and West Africa, North and South America, Greenland and Europe. Our main base is in Aberdeen with 150 onshore staff in our main office, and we have 1,200 offshore personnel working on the offshore units. We have full on-site warehousing facilities in Aberdeen, Singapore and Houston. We run satellite offices for all our overseas operations. And this worldwide experience has helped Stena understand the importance of procuring locally whenever it is a viable possibility. And now a little bit about the Stena drill marks, which should be coming very shortly around the 15th of February. We're excited and looking to start a new contract, a new future with ExxonMobil in Guyana. The Stena drill marks, it's a harsh environment, dynamically positioned DP Class 3 drill ship. It was built in 2007. It has accommodation for up to 180 persons. We have a max water depth of 10,000 feet and a max drilling depth of 35,000 feet. The drill marks is due to arrive offshore Guyana on either the 14th or 15th of February 2021. We are heading to the Uaru 2 well location for Exxon. The plan when we arrive there will follow. We have approximately 5 days of loading up all the required equipment and personnel to perform operations. And we're due to spud the first well on about the 20th of February, all going well. Our operational plan, we will complete a top hole section on Uaru 2. This is all open water work. No BOP will be run on this well, basically setting this well up for future operations. This will take approximately 5 days. We will then move a short distance to the well Longtail 2, and we will perform an identical operation here on open water work, setting the foundations for running the BOP at a later stage. This will also take approximately 5 days. After that, we will move to Longtail 3 location, and we will spud this well and we will drill it to the temporary abandonment stage, approximately 62 days. We will abandon this well for all future operations to potentially produce it. Once we have completed this, we will have more wells to follow up in completion of this, and ExxonMobil, they will advise in due course. The current plan with EEPGL is for a series of both exploration and appraisal wells taking us through 2021 and beyond. Currently, we are seeking applications from Guyanese nationals to join the Stena Drillmax in a variety of positions. Following this initial round of employment, and as our new employees obtain experience, training and promotion, we anticipate further rounds of employment will follow on the Drillmax. However, with the COVID restrictions that we have ongoing worldwide, this has created some training challenges for our local employees. However, all going well, we are aiming for a total of 32 Guyanese local employees by the end of 21 on the Stena Drillmax. I will now hand you over to Mr. Nick Benzie, who will give you an update on the Stena Karen.
Thank you, Jeff. As Jeff said, I'm Nick Benzie. I'm the rig manager for the Stena Karen down here in Guyana. The Stena Karen is basically a sister ship to the Drillmax. It's a harsh environment, dynamic position DP Class 3 ship, which was built in 2008. It is an accommodation for potentially 180 personnel. And as the Drillmax, it has a maximum water depth of 10,000 foot with a maximum drilling depth of 35,000 foot. We initially arrived in the Starbrook block in Guyana in January 2016 and commenced drilling the first well for ExxonMobil, which was Liza 2 on the 5th of February 2016. This initially was just a one well contract, and we've been here ever since. Since that time, we have safely drilled 23 wells with a water depth ranging from just over 5,000 foot to just over 9,000 foot in depth. The depth that we've drilled to is in the region between 14,000 foot and over 21,000 foot. Now, just to give you an idea of this, it basically works out that the total depth that we've drilled to date is in the region of 77,372 meters, or 253,842 foot. So it just gives you an idea of the actual depths and the amount of drilling that we have been doing. Now, during our time in Guyana, we have installed a managed pressure drilling system. Now, this system has made the potential for previously undrillable wells now drillable. And the system has performed well over 5 MPD wells, and with a further 2 planned to be completed by the end of Q2 2021. And our current forecast with ExxonMobil is to continue drilling exploration and appraisal wells throughout 2021 and beyond. So currently we have got in the region of 69 Guyanese nationals employed to work on the Stena Karen. Now, this number will increase as we continue to train up individuals. We bring them in at a low level, we train them up, they move up a level. Once they move up a level, it opens a space for more candidates to come in. This way we can keep everything moving, and we can also keep advancing our local crews. With, like Jeff mentioned, with the COVID restrictions, it has been a challenge this year the last year, certainly, for training of local employees. However, we're still aiming to hit a figure of around 82 employees by the end of 2021. So basically, just moving on to our sort of local content statement, I mean, Stena Drilling is committed to providing first preference to real opportunities to the Guyanese suppliers, to supply goods or services that support the Stena Drilling campaigns within the region, and provide them, provided obviously they can offer competitive terms and conditions. So our local procurement process basically is, we will create detailed requisition for information or proposals. This will outline services and goods required, expectations, and also a closing date on them. So post RFIs and RFPs, we'll post them on the central portal, the Centre for Local Business Development here in Guyana, and create a list of bidders from the responses that we receive back. Once we've got that, we'll evaluate initially and make the successful bidders aware of the position. Once that is done, we will then send out a contract award letter to the successful bidders, and also inform the unsuccessful bidders and provide them with feedback, giving them a bit of information as to why they weren't successful, so that when the tendering process comes round again, it gives them more of an opportunity to push forward and advance themselves. Once all this process is complete, then obviously we will remove the notice from the centre once the contract has been awarded. So basically, the key points for our procurement procedure is that basically they meet all our internal and external quality, safety, environmental and certification requirements, and also be consistent with our company's policies and objectives. The procedure benefits with this. It ensures that goods, the correct goods are procured, they're cost effective, delivered on time and at an agreed price. And also to ensure prompt, efficient supply of materials when required. So basically for 2021, our local content opportunities at the moment are for medical goods supplies, medical services, paint supplies, catering personnel, catering and food supplies, offshore personnel and manning, and tubular services. And obviously, as we are evaluating all this, we are also looking at 2022 and how we're going to, the opportunities that may arise then. So, I mean, this will include things like PPE supplies, hose accessories, fitting supplies, steel, lubricant supplies, lifting equipment, fire and gas detection equipment, lifeboat spares. There's a great list of things with the potential that we could require. So the benefit of local purchase within Guyana include, it provides opportunities for local businesses through the tender process, creates a professional relationship with local businesses, develop a robust country supply chain with local businesses, generate income into the local economy, and improve lead times on obtaining goods and services locally. Because as you can imagine, importing things from the likes of the UK, the US, there is all time restraints on that, so it all does take time. Okay, so that basically brings us to the end of our presentation. Firstly, I would like to thank Exxon for the opportunity to present and to reiterate our aims and goals to develop our company within Guyana, and we look forward to working with local content companies and developing a good business network down here.
So first of all, I am Natasha Gaskin-Peters. I am the director at the Center for Local Business Development here in Guyana. Most of you are aware that the center's role or mandate is to build the competitiveness of local Guyanese businesses. And so in this regard, we have hosted the Guyana Supplier Forum 2021. Back in 2018, we would have hosted this forum in person. However, because of the COVID pandemic and the fact that we cannot meet you guys in person, we have decided to host this webinar online. So just some housekeeping before we get started. The question and answer box is at the bottom of your screen. So please ensure that you type those pertinent questions in that box. Remember, this is a Q&A session, so this is your opportunity to ask those questions from the various Stena officials. Yesterday, we would have provided videos that contain procurement updates from Stena as well as the other prime contractors to ExxonMobil. So thank you once again for joining us. I will now ask the Stena team to introduce themselves, please. And we'll begin with Brogan. I see you on screen.
Hi, nice to meet everyone. My name is Brogan Byers. I'm the procurement officer for the Stena Drilling Ltd. Currently still in Las Palmas, but as you know, we'll be sailing to Guyana towards well, hopefully in the next week or so. We're really looking forward to starting work there and starting a new project. The local content and the work that I've done with the Guyanese people so far has been really positive. I have 3 or 4 tenders out and a couple more to come, all posted on the CLBD portal. As I say, the feedback so far has been really good and really positive, and it's been good engaging with the local people, and I hope we can continue that relationship going forward. So it's nice to meet you.
Thank you, Brogan. Over to you, Richard. I know we have Richard on the line.
Yeah, hello. I'm Richard Wells. I'm the International Logistics Manager for Stena Drilling. My main part of my role is preparation for the start of projects and rig importation, exportation, and I'm the lead point on local content with ExxonMobil to help distribute various requests and provide various reporting from different departments in our business.
Thank you, Richard. And I see Paul is here also. Welcome, Paul. Could you please introduce yourself to...
Yeah, sorry, had a little bit of IT trouble there, just getting logged on, but I'm here now. So I'm the procurement officer for the Stena Karen. So I've been looking after the Stena Karen for about 10 months now on the procurement side. Before that, I was working on some of the semi-submersibles that were in the North Sea sector for Stena. So and after that, I'm now on to the Stena Karen. So I've got so for the last 10 months, I've been working on local tenders on the CLBD. I'm dealing with a lot of the local companies in Guyana now. So I'm building up the experience and getting to know the and what's on offer in Guyana, and using that experience to bring it forward and increase it as much as we can and get involved as much as we can there with local content.
Thank you, Paul. So you're just in time. We have a question that asks about your procurement process. So could you tell us a little bit more detail about that process and how local companies can apply to work with Stena?
So we have a local content process, and we work quite closely with the Centre of Local Business Development. So we use that to post up our requirements or future requirements that are coming up for that we need locally. So we put them up there first. We put the RFP up on the centre there, and we put our requirements normally on an Excel spreadsheet, which then just has a section to be filled in. And then from that, we then take the tenders back, and we will award accordingly to what is the sort of best combination of price, specification, etc. We don't always go on best price. It's always obviously a combination of quality, price, and on that. We'll also give feedback to anybody who is successful and unsuccessful. So we'll try and give as much feedback as possible on all of these, because that's also important for companies in the area to develop and grow. We're also open as well to people coming direct to us with their ideas, what they've got. You know, we don't always know. I mean, we can. There's a lot of products that will be out there available that we don't know about. So we're very open for people to come to us and, you know, request meetings, get in touch with us, saying, "Hey, we can do this. We can help you out here. We can. You might not be aware of this. This is all, you know, great stuff." And you know, we'll look forward to some of that as well. And if anybody can offer anything like that, we're always very open for meetings and, you know, get to know everybody and what we can do, because there's been so much out there that we don't know about as well.
Thank you, Paul. And this is really key. You know, we have been sending that message to the local entities that you must be registered with us, the Center for Local Business Development, because this is where you can see, those procurement process, those procurement, the tendering opportunities as they come out on our supplier registration portal. Now, Paul, you noted something that was very important, that feedback process, because this is something that the local entities, they will always ask about. I applied for
Sure.
an expression of interest, but I didn't win, and I didn't hear back. And you indicated that your company does provide that feedback. Could you give us some examples of, where you would have provided that feedback and why you think that that is critical?
Yeah, absolutely, and because we want to work together with all the with local vendors, and what we really want to do by being there is to help develop your vendors and companies in the area. So we feel that that's very important as a company as well, to help in that process, because the work that you've got in this industry in Guyana is really up and coming, and we want to be part of that, and we want to be involved with helping you to develop, because we're only going to be a sort of small part of the overall picture you've got going on in Guyana. So we'd like to be part of that to help you, and anything we can do in feedback, that can help in the areas. It's great for Stena, it's great for Guyana, it's great for all your companies and the economy.
Thank you. Now, we've noted in the video yesterday that you indicated that you started off with just drilling one well, and now it has moved to 23. And so in that regard, we are going to be seeing a third vessel that is going to come offshore to continue the drilling exercise. Now, could you tell us a little bit more about your payment terms? So one of the things, companies are asking about, and we would have asked this question of other primes, is your payment term different in Guyana compared to what you do globally?
We have standard payment terms of 45 days, but like everything, we can negotiate on different terms, especially early on in a relationship, which we can look at this, because we understand that that there's differences there that can come across. So what I would say on that is, yeah, we have standard 45-day payment terms, but we can look at coming to maybe some agreements at first that might be different, but we would look to sort of develop that to 45 days, especially when the level of trust is there, and then we've worked together with companies more, and you can see that we're reliable payers, and we can get any queries sorted out quickly and things. It's all about communication in that respect as well.
Thank you, Paul. Now, you noted that, your company is very much interested in local content. This was very much emphasized within, the video yesterday. So could you tell us, what changes you've seen in the Guyanese companies in terms of their capabilities? Are they progressing within this particular industry?
My experience on that, to see an actual change, is slightly, maybe Richard will be in a better place to answer this than me, but because I've only been dealing with the Stena Karen in Guyana for, as I say, 10 months now. So maybe I could just hand that one over to Richard, maybe answer that one in a little bit more detail on that. That's okay.
No problems, Paul, no problem. So yeah, I just to correct Natasha there, we've got the Stena Karen, and then the second rig from Stena's coming with the drill max, not the third. So the Stena Karen, I arrived in country towards the end of 2015 and towards arrival at the start of 2016, and it's been a lot of change since then. If early part of the industry locally there, we were really only had less than a handful of options, really a couple of options for agency services, ship agency services and things like that. We're currently running a tender, and we have well over 10 agencies responding to that tender, and I think across the board now we're receiving more inquiries, more information about shore bases that are being developed and available, better supply in general for the different things that we've ordered locally. So we have more options to choose from, which is creating competition and better supply levels in country to support us. I think that's one of the key things initially, was that we were receiving quotations locally, which were based on bringing the same goods into country. And I think that now, when those kind of quotations struggle sometimes with other factors, and the fact that we can sometimes bring things in in a bulk method into our business and in the same time frames. But now we're seeing things in country and available to us, which is a key change from when we first arrived in early 2016.
That is very critical, that we're seeing that positive movement within the industry. Now, one of the things that we noted within the video, as you indicated, the 2 vessels that you will have on board, there's going to be a need for catering services, the procurement of food items. So a local company is asking, what specifically are you going to be procuring? Is it just going to be raw agricultural products? Is it going to be a mix of processed products? So what can we expect in 2021?
I can take this one. I've done the catering contract so far. It's still in the early development internally within Stena. We have catering. Well, we have a sister company, France Marine Services, that assist with our catering needs for other vessels. So they will be a part of this process also. We're tendering almost on behalf of them. The food services will pretty much cover anything and everything that we'll need. It doesn't just include raw foods and things. It will be a really wide variety of all catering requirements. The food service specifically has been taken out from the catering personnel, as we found that was more beneficial to separate that contract. The catering personnel has also been included as part of our offshore manning RFP. So the food service one won't be specifically for that supplies. And as I say, it's still in early development within Stena, but certainly I should be able to provide more information on that quite soon. Maybe the next week or so, you'll see an RFP on the CLBD portal. As always, as well, we'll include as much information as we can within the RFP, but certainly if there's any questions or any concerns, our contact details are always on there. And as Paul said earlier, we really welcome the lines of communication to stay open and welcome any questions or concerns that anyone has. So,
thank you, Brogan. So we have a company here that's asking about onshore versus offshore. So is it that you're only procuring for services offshore? Is there any need for any onshore services?
At the moment, the RFP is certainly directed towards offshore only. Again, Richard, maybe I can ask for your assistance in this with regards to onshore services. Would there be a requirement for that?
Yeah, so I guess obviously as vessel owners, we're working offshore predominantly, but we do need things on the beach, as we say, to support the rig. So agency services, which is currently a tender that's live at the moment, and we're reviewing the respondents. That would cover crew change services, shore-based services for storing our cargo, freight forward, etc. We've got an intention to put out a drill pipe inspection and maintenance RFP as well, which is coming out hopefully in the coming weeks, and that's where we would be sending in equipment such as drill pipe into hopefully Guyana and being able to have that serviced and maintained or repaired. The other items are that we do have some employment opportunities, but most of the other tenders are to support the rig and for goods offshore and services offshore.
Thank you, Richard. Now, I know we have some specific questions on tubular supply. So we have a company here that is asking, what is the strategy for procuring this particular tubular supply offshore Guyana? And I know that Brogan, you were responding to this particular question.
I could take that question for you. As
Sure.
as in a strategy, obviously we have to comply with the strict inspection regulations that meet certain criteria. So for the company, the local content companies that will set up any tubular services, they have to have specific licenses. Our tubulars for both the vessels are API connections, and they're also Grant Creedco connections as well. So we have inspection and repair facilities that would be requiring all other tubular services. It would be supply, you know, actual manufacturing of tubulars, subs, etc. But that's maybe a bit later down the road. So initially, we will be looking for inspection and repair services, and you know, it's going to be quite exciting to see what comes up, because as you know, the offshore industry in Guyana is only going to get bigger. And really just now with the amount of vessels that's working on location, this will be a great asset to this particular area.
Thank you, Gio. Now we have some specific question as it relates to things like non-destructive testing. We had this question come up with ExxonMobil. You know, will there be a need for any of these services to be procured locally?
Yeah, I think, do you want to take that one, Brogan? Is it for tendering? I think it's coming out soon, isn't it, Brogan? We're in the process of that.
Sorry, Natasha, could you repeat the question? I was answering an email in the chat column. Sorry.
Yes, Brogan, don't worry, don't respond to the chat. So we will read out questions that are popping up there.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So we have a question that speaks specifically to non-destructive testing and whether we'll see any opportunities there in the near future for local companies.
And not that I'm aware of. There's nothing in the plans for the foreseeable future, but again, if it's something that can be offered in country, we would welcome communications on that. Companies can feel free to email myself or Paul with information and details as to the services they provide.
Okay. And Richard, you spoke earlier about, you know, some of the onshore services. We have companies that are asking about recruitment services, for example, staffing services, you know, accommodation for staff. Do we see an opportunity in these particular areas onshore?
Yeah, so we started off with Eldorado as our recruitment manpower company, and then we also added strategic recruitment as well. So there is also a tender going live where we've been made aware by the centre and other Exxon, our client, that there is more companies available to provide manpower services to us. So we're keen to engage with them. So we've done a tender to do that, and as Jeff and Nick pointed out in the presentation that they did, that we're targeting 32 basic positions offshore on the DrillMax when it arrives to be nationalised over the first 12 months, and the Stena Karen's currently at 69 nationalised positions and a target of 82 as part of our 2021 plan. We have been finding it difficult in the last sort of 12 months we're getting to now, sadly, with the COVID pandemic, and that's mainly to do with offshore training and other training services that come outside of Guyana that we've been unable to get our local crews to do. And we've tried to find robust ways around that for the time being, so that it doesn't hold back our recruitment strategy. So yeah, with the DrillMax arrival, there is a lot of immediate and entry-level positions available, and the Karen has proven that the people that started on those entry-level positions on her have progressed up now to skilled level positions in the crew model, and we're hopeful that that will continue further in hopefully the years ahead.
And to any member of the team, Richard noted about the crewing. Can you just tell us a little bit more about the crews, the crew change, the total amount of persons that, would be on those vessels? So just educate the companies a little bit more on that process.
Yeah, so the capacity of the vessels is 180 POB, and all of the crew working from Stena side 28 rotation. Now that has slightly had to change a little bit because of COVID, but that's the typical norm for that. Hopefully, hoping the world will go back to normal soon. And a core crew of around 100 on board at any one time. The local Guyanese crew are doing the same rotation as our Stena core crew, and as I said, it's a matter of building up the experience. One thing to add is that Stena is part of a larger group of Stena AB, and it consists of other shipping functionalities such as Stena Bulk. And also we have an actual manning company for the cargo industry, vessel industry. So some of a guy called Clifton Hamilton, I think, progressed to a point where we actually took him on board, and he's gone out to do his various badges at sea for 9 months and so. So by joining Stena, you're not just limited to working for us in Guyana on the drill ships. There is scope that people who progress, gain experience, and are hard workers. There are other opportunities in the bigger group that we are on other vessels working in other projects. So it's quite an attractive long-term career path that's available to individuals joining us.
Thank you, Richard. Now, one of the things that local entities are asking, that they know that there is a supply chain, an international supply chain that Stena and other companies will work with. So they may feel as though there is no opportunity for them. So can you tell them, what opportunities exist, and how it is that you are going through a competitive process here in Guyana and not only focusing on that international supply chain? So what are you doing in terms of your local content or aspect?
So I can maybe take this one. So yeah, we always go through, and as I say, we're constantly trying to get more and more information as we can. So I mean a drill ship. I mean in where we have them, we've got the two. Well, we've got the one there at the moment and one coming. So the possibilities are always going to increase as well. So I mean, really anything that that we're buying everything from from food all the way to to drill pipe, for all the technical parts, engine parts, a lot of consumables. I mean, we've got a lot of the metal parts, we've got electrical parts, we've got mechanical parts, etc., etc. Now, it's really is if people can come to us and say, look, we can supply what they can do, what they can supply, we can look at it and we can say, well, we do buy that. I mean, a lot of the things that we're buying on a day-to-day basis and that we need quite quickly is a lot of the stuff that might well be, more easier to get. I mean, I'm talking about things like paints. I'm talking about medical supplies. I'm talking about, all these sort of items that we'll be buying on a day-to-day basis. And the more that these items that we can get help with, that we can get locally quickly, the better for us. So I mean, if people want to contact me, feel free, because I can go through them what what we can order and what they can supply to us quickly. I mean, a lot of the time it's how quickly we can get it, and a lot of the time it's not, and then we can then have the luxury of of going out for tenders and speaking to people and planning. But for those urgent requirements, the more we know in the local areas, the better. So as I say, just feel free to contact me. There's a couple of things coming up in the chat there about asking me for contact details. I mean, I presume I can put something up on here by the end of this, and I can put my details out there for people to contact myself and Brogan.
Just to add, Natasha, to Paul there.
Just like to ask persons to make contact with the center. So contact us and we will provide you with the information for all of the prime contractors. So we do have contact information for all of the primes. So reach out to us and we will provide that contact information. So Paul, we have a question that may be specific to you. A company is asking, how long after submitting a proposal do they have to wait before they receive feedback?
It depends what it's for, because there's a couple of things that I've got on there at the moment. I've got one for medical supplies, which is a long tender, so that takes a little bit longer to review and compare, and to get back to people. But I would like to get back to people, once they've submitted. I'll always try and tell people that we've submitted and that we've received it, and that we're going to review it. So firstly, you should get an acknowledgement from us that we have actually received it and that we're reviewing it. If it's something that doesn't have too many items on it, I'll try and get back to people within 7 days. If it's something with a large amount of items, I'll be aiming for 2 to 3 weeks on that for returning something and trying to give some feedback. But I mean, as I say, it does depend on the sort of volume.
I was going to agree with Paul there and just add to what he said. Certainly with the tenders that we have ongoing at the moment, they are part of a bigger project, and like Paul says, it depends how many, what is involved in that RFP, but also how many replies we get. Certainly, the ones in my experience so far, we've had great feedback and great participation, so the numbers are huge. And as Paul said, that takes time to go through, especially if there's anything technical that we need to do internally with Stena. I think Jeff touched on the policies and procedures from a safety point of view that we have to adhere to. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So certainly in the first instance, Paul said, we'll always acknowledge your submission, and any further correspondence, we'll always try and keep in contact with you as much as possible. But like we say, sometimes the process can take a little bit longer.
And just to add as well that we've engaged with a lot of vendors locally on one-off orders or a couple of orders here and there, and actually used our local agency partner to fulfill those orders. So it's not a direct relationship in the first instance. However, over time, as we've had repetitive business with those local Guyanese partners and built up a volume of business with them, we've then taken them as a direct partner moving forward. So even if the inquiry comes to Brogan or Paul directly, we may well use our agent to do the fulfillment of that in the first instance, in order to start to build up a good traction of business together, and then move. And it's also a quicker process by using our local agent, and then we move to a direct relation. The supply channel is established, basically.
Thank you. Could you please tell us a little bit more about your onboarding process? Earlier when we had Nabi and Exxon, they would have indicated that, once you have the contract, it's not the final stage. So the prime contractors are there to assist the companies and ensure that they're able to fulfill that contract. So could you tell us a little bit more about how you assist the local companies in terms of the onboarding process?
So yeah, I mean, this goes back to more sort of, the contract will give, we would award people with would have all the terms and conditions for our contract, and then we would aim to just to communicate and work with people to if there's anything there that they weren't sure of, and going back to, for example, in our first earlier conversation, there could be something on payment terms that need negotiation. There could be delivery terms, whether we're collecting, or the supplier might be delivering it straight to our port. As I say, we would work together with them to come to the end outcome through the negotiation process of the contract. I'd like to think that before we get to the stage of award, we would have gone through our terms, conditions, and clauses of contracts, so that by the time we're issuing the contract, there won't be any sort of any areas of uncertainty before that. And if there is, then we would always try and resolve those before any transactions start.
Thank you, Paul. Now we have a specific question as it relates to transportation. So we have a company here that is interested in finding out how you get crewmen on and offshore, and who is responsible for that. Would there be any upcoming tender opportunities in that regard?
Well, I can take that one. So historically and all around the world, we use our agency partner to provide crew change services. So in the recent tender that we've issued for agency services, it is included in there. Under the current COVID pandemic, and due to the protocols that we're following to get our crew, both Guyanese and Stena core crew, to our vessels, that is being handled exclusively by Exxon in country at the moment. So once we hopefully go back to a normal situation, our agency partner will be supporting us on that. And most of the time, the agency partner is outsourcing that as a separate agreement to a local transportation company. And there's various criteria of standard of vehicles, procedures, and so on that we support our agent to communicate to any partner that they're looking to engage. So we're aware that there's quite a lot of transportation companies available, and probably growing in that nature, but it is a service that we include in our agency. So my key advice would be to engage with local agents, because I would suspect a lot of the other prime contractors are following a similar model.
Thank you, Richard. Now, Paul, we have a question here about registration. You did mention your procurement process before, so please reinforce how it is that you go about trying to locate vendors, where they need to be registered in order to supply Stena.
So to register, we go through a process internally. We have a supplier registration process, and to become an approved vendor of Stena Drilling. So that goes through 3 or 4 kind of processes. So I can give you a kind of idea of what that's involved with. And just sort of going back to Richard's point as well, if we didn't, for example, if there was something that we needed urgently and this company wasn't yet an approved vendor of Stena, we have the facility to go through local agents to make a purchase on our behalf, because obviously our agent is obviously an approved vendor for Stena already. But to get somebody approved for Stena Drilling, we go through a process which doesn't take too long, but it will take as long as the checks take, which typically takes about 7 to 10 days. It will go to me. I send out some application forms, which is just for the company to give us some information on the company, what they do, accreditations that they've got, like their QA policies, procedures that are within their company. We take this in, and the first place it goes to is that it goes through some checks through our financial department, and then it gets forwarded to our safety department, and they do some checks on what the quality standards, etc., of the company are. They look at that, and it's different. There's some differences if, for example, if a company's just supply only, it's a little bit quicker. But if the company's going to be attending our rig or to do any offshore services, etc., there's some more checks there that need to be done with our safety department there. Once that's gone through our safety department, then it comes back to me, and then we get our account section to put you onto our system, and then you'll be given the Stena Drilling standard terms and conditions for that, which for looking over. And once we're all set up, then we can once you're an approved vendor of Stena, that's when we can work with direct POs from our system, and and then we can be. If you're not registered with Stena, it doesn't mean that you can't respond to any any RFPs or anything like that we have on the CLBD. This is all things that we can work together with during the process to get this done. Ready for when orders start to come. So don't think if you're not registered as an approved vendor that's any disadvantage for winning any work. That's all things that we can work together to get done during these processes.
Thank you, Paul. Now, the COVID pandemic, of course, would have affected every company globally. It's affecting the world presently, and so we have a company here that is asking how that has had an impact in terms of your crew change and getting your crew to and fro that vessel.
Yeah, so I can answer that one to give you an idea. So the pandemic hit fairly quickly for everybody around the world, and we work closely with our clients such as Exxon in order to build protocols in order to manage crew change and attempt to keep our vessels working, as well as our operators continuing their projects. So the Stena Karen, as an example, we did have a period where she was laid up in Guyana as we quickly tried to build these protocols. And in short, that basically how we're managing our crew coming in is that they're going into an isolation facility, be it in Guyana, Houston, or in London, where they will be isolated and tested following an agreed, which is in, and then they will be controlled within a COVID-free bubble using special transportation and following again additional procedures and charter flights into Guyana if they're coming from outside the country, and the same once they arrive in country, in order to make sure they remain in a COVID-free bubble out to the drill ship. And that will be exactly the same process when the drill max arrives, and the crew are treated exactly the same way when they leave the drill ship and head home for their leave. And as I said, whether that be in Guyana or other places internationally.
Thank you, Richard. Now we have a question here on partnerships. One of the things that we do promote at the center is smart partnerships. And so we've seen the success in the Navi KCL, where a local company was able to partner with an international company, and they are now building out the office for ExxonMobil. So could you tell us a little bit more about how Stena promotes the Smart Partnerships initiative? Because we have a company that's asking about partnerships.
I can give you an example. So when we first arrived, we had a couple of different agents providing a couple of different services. And during the time that we've been there, we've consolidated that down to one agency partner. When they were prepared to take on the additional work, they felt that they were in a comfortable position to take on the additional work they hadn't secured from us. And we've worked closely with that company. It's called Falcon Logistics, and we call it a transfer of knowledge. So we've supported them in order to build us a shore base to the standard international drilling contractor, following our safety management system protocols, And you know, I wouldn't take full credit, but I think that's also assisted them to secure other contracts with other heavy duty industry international businesses that are looking to work in Guyana, and it's hopefully raised the standards of which they work on local domestic contracts that they've secured as well. So partnership is a key word within our business, and it's very much something that we try and build over the long term. And we're not a company that is not willing to share our knowledge and our experiences and our protocols in order to help our partners. And we also learn an awful lot from various partners around the world and different ideas, and we're very open to receiving information and dialogue from our partners in the opposite direction to help us, because we can all learn together every day, you know.
Thank you, Richard. Now we have a specific question on ROV services and whether the services will be procured by Stena in the future.
I think Jeff might be able to answer that one. I believe in short the answer is probably no, but I'll let Jeff take that one.
Yeah, just to reiterate the question again, did you say ROV services?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, ROV services. Unfortunately, Stena doesn't have any contract with any ROV services. And to give you a little bit of background, in the oil industry, the drilling contractors, although we have ROV units on board, they are actually under contract to our clients. In this case, it's Exxon. The only contracts that Stena have with ROV companies is when we are not under contract for a client, i.e. not drilling any wells. We have a contract with the ROV company to keep the ROV on board and keep it maintained, obviously to allow marked in the rig for future contracts. But the short answer is no, that is actually contracted by Exxon, and really we don't have any connections directly with contracts with ROV, so that would have to be one for Exxon, I'm afraid.
Thank you, Gio. Now, one of the things that Guyanese vendors are a bit used to is the upfront mobilization payment. So can you tell us, how your company is dealing with this? One of the things that we have been saying to the vendors is that in the oil and gas industry, there is no upfront mobilization payment. So have you encountered this particular issue in working with the local vendors?
I haven't really come across that since I've been dealing with the Stena Caden. I've never come across that issue before.
Yeah, so
that's very good news, Paul.
We haven't come across it, but we're not our industry, there's some pretty big numbers involved at times. So, from talking about globally, we have had instances where we've had to pre-fund our partners in country in order to do a certain service. I wouldn't say it's something that we do on a long-term or medium-term even, or a short-term basis. It's really, if it was a specific task that was a large cash outlay, then we have supported to pre-fund. But it requires a lot of signatures, as you can imagine. It's usually a big number, and that would probably be the only circumstance that we would have that situation arise.
That's very good news, Richard. It shows a change in culture. So that's great news. Oh, can you tell us, Richard, you mentioned earlier that you've been hiring local Guyanese to work on the vessel. Today you have about 69 Guyanese, and this will be expanded into this year as you bring on board another vessel. Could you tell us about some of the trainings that these local individuals would have had to undertake before joining Stena?
Yeah, so the The main trade, we've got a 69, as we said, and we're looking at a total of 114 by the end of the year, hopefully. So, yeah, the new starters that will be joining, the main requirement is their offshore training, which is a Bosia or Tropical Hewitt, and it's around the helicopter and able to escape safely and so on. And then a lot of the other training that is done is job specific, and it would be done on a set number of courses, and depending on appraisals and development, then as they progress through their role and their time offshore, the training courses would follow on. But the main one is to get that offshore training to allow them to safely go out to the rig, and then the general orientation training once on board, because as I'm sure many people know on this, is a very dangerous industry, and safety is a key factor in that.
Thank you, Richard.
Just to add to Richard's, he's covered the basic offshore survival training, but in the we're calling them unskilled positions, but really I tend to think that all offshore positions are skilled, to my mind, because I'll give you a simple example. If there's a fire offshore, there is no fire engine coming, so a lot of the painters, the catering crew, and the roustabouts, they're actually firemen as well, so there's a lot of fire training to do as well, and obviously helicopter refueling and heli decks as well. So that is all covered by the sort of lower ranks, the marine crew. So yeah, there is quite some intense training to undergo before going offshore into one of these positions.
Thank you. Now we have two specific questions. One deals with cargo carrying units, and one deals with paint brands, and whether there is going to be any need for these particular services.
But if I do the cargo carrying, and I'll leave Brogan and Paul to take up the paint side of things. So Stena rigs come with their own fleet of CCUs. So predominantly we have 10-foot containers, 20-foot half heights, gas racks, food containers, heli fuel tanks, and then we usually have, depending on the rig, some different frames and oversized baskets in order to deal with some particular equipment on board the vessel. So unlike some of the other contractors to operators such as Exxon, we have a ship that's able to carry around those containers, and that's one of the benefits for us, where we can have a steady fleet of CCUs. So our requirements there are really ad hoc. We do have some need when we've got particularly large amounts of operations going on, and we need then additional units in order to transfer cargo out. There's a lot of PSVs working for this project, all these projects that are happening inside Guyana with Exxon. So, you know, sometimes containers can be on PSVs elsewhere, and we have a need. But predominantly our need is usually ad hoc due to supply and demand, essentially, for what's happening offshore on our rig.
Okay, I can. Would you like me to answer the question on the paint?
Yes, go ahead, Paul.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think maybe mentioned this earlier, but yeah, we do have requirements for paint, and we obviously have specific paint codes for Stena Drilling, and we have a specific standard paint that we use, which actually I have just tendered for that. Well, it was for one requirement just in the last 2 weeks actually, which is something that we're always looking for. So anything we can get on this, because I was getting a lot of answers on paint, but not quite specifically exactly what we need. And this sort of goes back to the sort of quality that we need sometimes. And you know, I'm not saying that it can't be found, but any assistance that we can get, and when it comes down to paint and things like that, if I put the specification on on the CLBD, I'll be very quite clear in the specification, and that is normally exactly what we need. If somebody can come back to me and say, well, hey Paul, we can actually offer you this, but it's slightly different because of this. It doesn't mean we can't buy it, but I would have to go and go and check with somebody. So the more information that we can get on things like that, the better. And certainly, I would welcome anybody coming forward to myself or Brogan on specific paint requirements, and we can give you the details of what Stena use. So perhaps we could even look at stocking some of what we use on a regular basis in Guyana. That would and that would be a help to both us and whoever vendor might be able to do that. So yeah, that'll be really helpful if that could happen.
Thank you, Paul. While you're on the floor, we have a question around pre-qualification documents. So
yeah.
Can you please shed some light in terms of the procurement process and on what stage a company would be able to have access to pre-qualification documents?
A company could have access to pre-qualification documents, very early on in the process. Formally, we've not really done formal pre-qualification. We've normally done straight to RFP, and what we've done is we've sort of worked with the vendors at that stage for finding out a little bit more out about them. Sometimes we're constrained on time, so that we need to get the information on the company as we sort of go. But if anybody has any questions on what they need to for supplying to Stena Drilling, I can liaise directly with me. I can give you examples of what we look for in a vendor So I could even share with the vendor what our questionnaire contains and what they need to tell us, so that they could even be prepared for that before we even get to that stage. If that can help anybody out, I'm more than happy to share that information with them.
Thank you, Paul. Well, I think we've covered all of the questions that we've had for this afternoon session. So I'll just give the panelists a few minutes to give their closing remarks before we end today's session. So Paul, while you're on the floor, so you can begin. Thank you.
Yeah, so just to round up, I just really encourage people to come to us, and and vice versa. I'll be trying to find people that can help us as well. So, and it's all about working together and communication, and just so that we can helping each other, helping both companies, both sides, the countries. Is what it's all about. And the more that we do this, the better it gets. And once we get more experience of doing this, the easier it becomes. The relationships build up, and we can build on there. So just as a precursor, I would just like to say in advance, thanks to anybody that will come to us and that can offer us whatever they can. And as I say, I'm completely open to any questions or what we can do to build on this.
Brogan?
But yeah, my experience so far has been fantastic. I would like to say thank you to everyone that's reached out to us so far. I know Paul's had time to develop some relationships and work with the local people. I'm not even in country yet, and the responses and engagement that I've had so far have been really encouraging. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for that. Like Paul said, communication is a big thing for us. We're happy to open questions and dialogue to build, I suppose, a better future for both companies, and we can really work together to improve things. The CLBD portal has been a fantastic tool for us to use so far, and we will continue to use that going forward. So if anyone has any tenders that they're interested in, please keep an eye on the portal and the jobs upcoming in the future.
Thank you. Richard?
Yeah, I've been left with a short straw because they've covered a lot of it, but Yeah, is a big thank you. We've been there for a lot of years and we've had a lot of good support. We've built some good partnerships. We're looking forward to building more good long-term partnerships. As the guys have said, the Centre of Local Business Development has been a fantastic tool for us to use, and we intend to use it more. So we encourage everybody to try and engage with that as much as we can. Lots of good recruitment coming up for the Drill Max, continued recruitment for the Karen. We're going to be making sure everybody's aware of that in country and those opportunities through the outcome of our Manpower Awards and the partners that we'll have for that. And yeah, the key thing for us is building those partnerships, and lots of times once we've got some good partnerships, they evolve and those partners end up doing even more. So it's not closing down opportunities for new partnerships, but there is some benefits once we get some good partnerships going, and hopefully they'll be for many years ahead, and a COVID-free world as well.
Thank you, Richard. Geoff?
Yeah, and I've probably been left with the hardest job because Brogan for Richard's covered everything, but I'd just like to wish everybody a warm welcome to the Stena Drilling Ltd. I know the Stena Karen's been here for quite some years. I'm the rig manager for the Drilling Ltd. I've been in Georgetown now for 3 weeks. Lovely place. I'm very excited to be here. And as a team, the Drilling Ltd. Team coming in, and as the larger Stena team, you know, we welcome all the support and help we can get. And just to go back to what Paul and Brogan's saying, you know, the more local supplies that we can get, the easier it makes our job, you know. If we can get the right equipment at a competitive price, we will, you know, welcome to get it in local. I'm sure when I put orders in for Brogan and Paul, the easiest thing for them to do is get in touch with somebody local. It's half an hour down the road. Hey, we can help you out. 30 minutes, the equipment's with us, you know. So please, please endeavour to put your services to us, and we will look at everyone. And yeah, a warm welcome again, and we look forward to working with everybody in Guyana. Thank you.
Thank you, Geoff. So as Geoff said in his closing remarks, you know, local content is really important to Stena. You know, it's cheaper for business. It helps to make them even more competitive. So I would like to thank everyone from the Stena team that joined us today. I'd like to thank the local companies that were part of this session. My contact details are in the chat box, so please reach out to the Center for Local Business Development, and we will provide contact details for Stena as well as the other prime contractors. So thank you for being part of today's webinar, and continue to stay safe. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.